Kylie told us this morning that she had told us she was looking at some hospitals and stuff because her contract's up at the end of the year in Denver. And she's like, I'm texting Josh about all things if I should move there. I was like, move there. Then we have more reason to go.
Yeah, no, true. You guys would be up here more often since you love Kylie more than you love me.
Shut up.
You want to kick us off?
All right, dude. Let's do it. Let's jump into it. Here we go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to I shouldn't say good morning because you might be listening to this at night. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Living to Stream podcast, where we watch movies on streaming platforms and determine if they are full watches. I'm one of your hosts, Eric Harrison.
And I'm Josh Perez.
And today's episode is Sound of Metal. But before we get into that, I must apologize that Kelly is not here because I know what everybody's thinking. You're like, damn it. So apologies. We'll get her on again.
Dude, she's going to take over this episode. Or this whole podcast, dude.
Unbelievable.
Our most listened to episodes are the ones she's on.
Even this last one that's relatively new, I bet you it is.
It's climbing, dude. There's still time to put a few more numbers, but it is more than our previous episode before that. And
all right, this one's got to do numbers, Josh. We got to be really funny. Okay.
All right, here we go. We're going to be hilarious. And to fulfill that promise, everyone, a cool way to support this show to get us more listeners and more listens than Kelly would be to rate and review and share with a friend and make sure this episode gets tons of listens.
Josh, listen, have we talked about the Patreon yet?
Oh, we have not, dude. We have not. We kind of just threw it in there.
This is the time. I don't even know how Patreon works.
Okay. Here's the thing. We have a Patreon. Eric says he doesn't know. You know, that's a good point. Okay, so the way Patreon works is you give people money, and then those people...
Us give us money.
Okay, yes. You give us money, and then we have money to continue making the show available. For example, there's 3 tiers on our Patreon. It's Patreon/3 Milks Media. And then we have 3 tiers. It's evaporated, as in you won't even notice this $5 leaving your bank account, but we will notice the love going into our hearts. So please consider the evaporated tier. There's the sweet and condensed. It's $10. It's a little more, those cafe con leches are pretty delightful, a little more than a latte or even your just drip coffee, but it is, we will feel the same amount of love as the evaporated tier, but just $5 more love than the previous tier. And then if you want to be wild, there's the whole tier, and that's $100 a month. It's not lactose free. It is lactose full. It's a whole lot of money, but you'll get a whole lot of gratitude. So basically you can choose those tiers. We are grateful for whatever. People have just been asking, how do we support? Eric's been panhandling, trying to ask people for money. He's been throwing out my Venmo around everywhere. Taxes are getting wild. So I was like, you know what? Here's what's going to happen. We're just going to do a Patreon. If you would like to support, that's awesome. We'll put the link in the show notes, our 3 Milks Media Patreon, but that's how it works, I think. This is the first Patreon I've ever done, but I've seen a lot of people do them on the internet, and it sounds like, hey, you support the show, you send money, we get the money, and then things just keep, circle of life keeps on going.
Yes, I love it. Send us money. You can still Venmo Josh if you want to, right?
Yeah, I mean, my Venmo still exists.
But since it's 3 Milks Media Patreon, it also supports the newsletter, right?
Oh, that's right. It's
all the 3 Milks Media content that we put out. Newsletter's a lot of fun if you haven't checked it out. The Instagram is becoming more alive. You'll get to see more Kelly on there for sure. So, like, if you've gotten this far and you were just here for Kelly, keep playing this, keep listening, and then go to Instagram to read her takes, or Substack to read her takes in the newsletter. So like if that's the only reason you're here, that's okay. Just keep us in the background so we get a play and just read her content.
Yeah.
There we go.
We did favorite watches today, which I don't know if I've even read them yet.
Was it your Shogun?
I know mine. I know what mine is. I submitted it.
That's a great. This
is a whole team. There's the producers and editors here at 3 Milks Media. The head of written content is the one who put this all together.
Let's see.
Okay, John Tucker Must Die. That was Kelly's. So if you want to hear about what Kelly has to say about John Tucker Must Die, check out the newsletter, check out the Instagram. Bloodsport, The Crow. Oh, dude, speaking of The Crow, if we're done with the Patreon and trying to,
Yeah.
The Crow. Are you gonna watch the remake?
Yeah, so I watched the trailer for it, and I'm a Skarsgård guy till I die. All of them, but specifically Bill due to his performance in it as Pennywise. I don't know how I feel about it though.
Really?
The tattoos, it's gonna be cool. Something that kills me is the tattoos are giving me. I'm gonna sound very millennial right now, maybe even Gen Z-ish. Bad vibes because
Oh.
of Jared Leto's Joker
Oh.
in Suicide Squad. Just like the tattoos, like damaged and all this, like that killed me a little bit. But that's it. Otherwise, it looks great. Like I mean, it's Skarsgård's fantastic. It'll be cool. It looks like a fun time. I don't know, man.
Yeah. I actually have not even seen a trailer, so I didn't even know there was a trailer
Oh, you have
out.
to watch this trailer. I don't mean to ruin that for you by pointing the tattoos out. Maybe that wouldn't have
No,
bothered
you're
you.
good. No, but that makes I can see that, because the Joker, Jared Leto's Joker, which is such a bummer about Leto's Joker because he did something so different, I think, from the previous Jokers that I thought had a
Yeah.
lot of potential. But rumor I heard, maybe it's the word on the street, maybe I'm making stuff up, but the feedback they got from Batman versus Superman was that a lot of audiences said it was very, very dark and it was too dark. And so
Mm.
the David Ayer and the rest of the Suicide Squad decided to shift a lot in the image and the theme and vibe of Suicide Squad. So they cut out, which I don't know if it would have made it any different or any better, but they cut out a lot of
Mm.
stuff that Jared Leto, because it's my understanding that Jared Leto wasn't very happy about that turnout. But
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
think a part of it is that they cut out a lot of stuff that he was excited about that he did. That being said, though, I don't know if it would have saved the movie or not, but
Could have.
um,
I mean, who knows? You never know.
but no, I mean, I'm gonna be honest here. I'm gonna be vulnerable. I've never even seen the first Crow, so I so
I just recently watched
oh,
it. I
okay,
can't talk smack. And I
okay,
think in my review in the newsletter, I said, or I'm sorry, in the favorite watches, I said it. I'm sorry it took me so long. It came out the year I was born, and it is so fun. It's a great. I think, yeah, it's '94. It's such a good movie. And then Brandon Lee and I went down a deep dive. I think I've told you this already. Went in a deep rabbit hole on his death
yeah,
while filming the movie, and it's a fun movie, man. It's good. It's moody, action packed. It's a good time.
okay, all right. That actually would be a good. We should pitch that. We should pitch best birth year
Oh,
movie.
best birth year.
That'd be
Let's go.
a cool little segment. But yeah, I like Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, for sure.
Am I a fan of the It movies? So there's your scariness. The Barbarian, I know that is another horror film that we did an episode on. Go back a few
Yeah.
weeks, or a few months. His performance in that was great too. Even though I was fully expecting him to be, we're gonna ruin the movie in 2 seconds. But so if you don't want Barbarian ruined, stop listening. And come back later. But I was fully expecting him to be the bad person in that movie.
Yeah,
When I
absolutely.
first saw the trailers and stuff, and then someone ruined it for me and said that he wasn't the bad well, they didn't ruin it for me. I asked them to tell me the whole movie because I thought I'd never watch it. And he did great, even as a unsuspecting, like, and a good person. So, and I
Yeah.
think he was in was it John Wick 4? Sometimes I get the Skarsgårds mixed up, but I'm pretty sure he was the villain in John
Bill?
Wick 4. Yeah. And
Yeah,
he
Bill was
did
in it.
great too. Anyways.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. I'll definitely be watching The Crow. Maybe do you think I should watch the first one first or do it in reverse?
I'd watch the first one first. I mean, I don't think it's a sequel. I think it's simply a remake, and I would say watch the first one,
Okay. Okay.
to be honest.
I didn't even know what it was about, but I just read the thing. Are you drawn to this movie too because the lead character's name is Eric?
No, I was drawn to it because I read something came I'm gonna sound too chronically online in every one of our episodes. I always say I read on Twitter, but I read on Twitter that the soundtrack was just killer.
Okay.
And that was my reason.
Okay.
And so literally the only reason I watched the movie. And it was fantastic. But yeah, who is it? Let's see. Yeah, it is 94. Yeah, soundtrack was amazing.
I mean,
You should watch it, man.
all right, queued up. I'll watch it. And I mean, to be fair, I feel like you are chronically on Twitter. Chronically online.
It's
I don't even tag you sometimes, and you
ridiculous.
still see it and respond.
I know that's crazy. That It's kind of crazy. I saw that the bill passed. So speaking of social media, the bill passed that might potentially ban TikTok if Biden signs it. I don't know. There's like a lot of drama surrounding TikTok, and people are really worried. And like, yeah, that's a bummer, dude. Just don't take Twitter away. I know people have said that Elon Musk might have ruined it. It's X now. Man, Twitter's just like my safe place to like read unhinged things. I don't really say unhinged things on there unless it's like directed at you.
Yeah.
I'm really like an observer of the chaos. You know what I mean?
Just a wallflower, a Twitter wallflower.
Yeah, exactly.
I just love how there's a bunch of loyalists that are just continually to call it Twitter. Like even articles and blogs, like for big publications, they'll put Twitter parentheses X or X, but really Twitter, and it's just really cool to see.
Yeah.
But
hey, question: how's training going for your little overnight? Not little, your overnight marathon,
dude. So what's Wednesday? On Monday, I did like 15 push-ups and 15 squats, and I'm sore. My legs hurt, my body hurts. It's just, I'm like, did I tear my hamstring?
Tell me you're kidding.
Okay, maybe it was like 20 squats and maybe 30 push-ups. But dude, my hamstrings feel like they ripped, like they're torn. Like I've been waddling around campus all week, just like, I'm like, please don't ask me what's wrong, trying to walk normal.
Did you like hit the squat rack?
No, I did body weight. That's how heavy I am. I'm dense, dude. It was just normal. What do they call curtsy? New Mexico Drew was telling me to do curtsy squats and lateral lunges because they help with the muscles, the running muscles that support the running muscles or something, because the side to side movements rather than just up, down, forward. I don't know. I'm not a scientist.
Is he a big runner?
Drew has, yes. Like I would say he's a runner in the same way that I'm a runner. Like I don't know if we would like necessarily be like, I'm like, you know, a runner enough to put it. I'm about to say to put in my bio, but literally it says running and then tagged Run Club Worldwide in my bio.
There's a little shoe.
But like he woke up one day and was like, yeah, I'm gonna do a marathon, and then he did it. So like so I feel like that's a run. Okay. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
But more we've got a few runs, but I think it's like more of like, just life running things. And
yeah. That's cool. I have not run in a while. It's like in 2024 I have not gone for a run.
Okay.
I ran in the fall quite a bit and then did like the Global Cancer Challenge through work and stuff. It's like a 5K,
okay,
you know, these little things. But I haven't run since, man. I probably should. It's so weird though. It's so interesting, like the different activities or sports that I do, like the different shape. Like I've been going to the gym and like eating healthy and like and walking, and just like, my body's been moving, and mountain biking, and that is like a very different kind of like trying to get in shape than running. Like I don't think I could run a 5K very well right now, even though I just went for like a decent mountain bike ride this Saturday. It's just not the same. Like they don't translate well. It's like when I used to skateboard and snowboard, I was like, I can surf. Not even close. When I went to California, it does not. It's like you're standing on a board. It just doesn't translate well. It's a completely different thing. Learning to snowboard versus skateboarding and then surfing. And so I did this bike ride, and I'm like, if I went for a 5K today, Josh, I think I'd probably like my legs.
You got it, dude.
But like, you know, I could probably, I'd do it, but I just probably not as fast as I could have before. And it's just interesting how it doesn't always translate. If you're hitting the gym or running or biking, they don't translate very well.
The surfing, the snowboarding to surfing kind of surprises me, because I feel like, I mean, I don't know anything. I've never gone surfing, so I don't know anything about it. But in my mind, I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. But I guess, I mean, surfing in general just always weirded me out, because you're barefoot. Is it just the material that the surfboard's made of that makes it not slippery? I'm like, you're literally always wet. So how do you?
Oh, it has.
How do you not slip off?
So last summer I was in San Diego with Vincent and some cousins, and we were deep sea fishing. And one of the days we tried surfing. We were playing volleyball and we tried surfing. And I was like, man, it's been years, but like, let me jump on this. I'm like, I'm a sporty guy, and dude, not even remotely close could I stand up on it. But I've also never gone with somebody who can surf to teach me.
Okay,
that might be the issue.
Okay, interesting. All right, well, maybe we got to get a surf expert. If we have a surf expert listening to this and wants to do an episode on like Surf's Up or Blue Crush,
Surf's Up. Oh, Blue Crush. There you go.
So that'd be kind of fun, because I just don't understand the the science,
how it works.
the functions,
So how
the mechanics.
aside from like your body weight squats that ruined your knees, how's training been going? Like
It's been
running?
okay. I still haven't broken 2-mile runs. I'm just doing a bunch of baby runs, 1 mile, 2 miles, and then I'll do a couple days in a row. I don't know if this is the right. I need to get on an actual training plan because I want to get back to Tuesday, Thursday. You run about 2 to 3 miles, and then on Saturday or Sunday you do a long run, and so those would increase. That's how I got ready the last time, and I think it helped. I think this time I just need to do better at the cross training with the body weight or lifting or whatever. But yeah, so far it's going okay. It hurts, dude. My legs hurt, my knees hurt, but again, I think it's just, dude, that whatever I had for that month and a half, 2 months with that messed up my lungs just set me way back. But I feel better. I haven't coughed in a while, so that's good. But I'm feeling all right about it. Luckily, I'm a part of a team that's very, very encouraging and very optimistic. So they've
Oh,
they've all
good.
been like, yeah, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be great. And but yeah,
That's
are you
awesome.
training for anything? I saw that you're selling a bike. Does that mean you're no longer mountain biking, or you're
I'm just trying to upgrade my bike. So it's the bike that I have, it's done me really well for the last few years. It's called a hardtail. So there's only suspension in the front wheel. And so like these trails we've been doing, it's a blast to go down and climbing's fine. But like I just want to increase my ability to just like crush through rocks and like they're called rock gardens, like in the foothills and the mountains. So I just want to upgrade my bike. So and actually when we go up to Colorado in a couple of weeks, there's a lot of bikes on Facebook Marketplace, which most of the guys that I went with and Vincent even got his. We went on a ride Saturday. They all got their bikes on Marketplace. And so
oh,
because brand new, dude, the suckers are
I can
expensive.
imagine.
But anyways, it's just like a full suspension bike, so suspension in the front and the back.
Gotcha.
Just allows you to, like, crush a little faster, which I can keep up with them, but, like, my ass hurts at the end of it.
Gotcha.
You know what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Because it's a hardtail, so yeah, man. But yeah, that's been fun. I wanna do that more and more this summer, and we've got a nice crew of guys that we go with, and, the one thing I haven't done is go to Angel Fire. They have a bike park similar to, like, where they have their ski
Okay.
resort. You just throw the bike on, take you up, and you just crush down. You don't have
Huh.
to do any climbing. So
That's cool.
that'll be fun, man. But yeah, and we're getting the pool ready in the backyard for summertime, warm weather. I woke up to go to the gym Monday morning at like super early, and it was nice outside. I wasn't cold. Love it, dude.
uh, do your kids turn into like part fish during the summer? They just live in water.
Oh, dude, absolutely. Like, so this is the first year we will have a pool here. But last year, her mom had a pool, a cousin. We went to West Mesa. I mean, like they take swim lessons still each
Okay.
week. They could live in the pool, man. Like they are. Kelly too. She loves to swim. I like swimming too, but the three of them could just never walk on land again. So we're super excited. We'll get the pool up this weekend. Actually,
Nice. Nice.
get it going, get it running, man. So yeah. Are you a big swimmer? You like swimming a lot?
No. No. I'm like the
No,
opposite, dude. I like stay out of water all the time.
really.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, dude, you've been to my parents' house. There's a
Oh,
pool
you had
there,
a
right?
pool.
I think I can probably it's probably less than 20 times that I actually got in that pool over the course of a lot of years, you know? Um, and the only
Really?
times I did get in that pool for like half of them was because I either got thrown in or we jumped in for some dumb reason with all our clothes on. Because I think that's how I
Yeah,
raised the majority of
I have
my
a
camp money. Young Life
I have
Leader.
a picture of
Yeah,
you.
do you really? Yeah, Young Life Leader to be like, "Hey, I'll give you, we'll give you X amount of dollars if you just jump in with all your clothes on so you can go to camp." And so I was like, "Easy." But no, dude, I mean, the beach, I think we've talked about this on a couple episodes where I'm like, there's creatures in there. I don't know what's underneath that surface, so I'm not gonna do that. But if it looks refreshing, I just don't know I'm not a big pool person, but my niece and nephew love them. They're the same. It sounds like they're the same as your kids. Like they'll live in water if they could. Whenever they visit my parents during the summer, dude, they are in that pool nonstop. Yeah,
Nonstop.
and they hold color way better than I do. So then every summer, I'm just reminded further and further that I'm not a part of my family. No, I'm just kidding.
I found this picture while I was looking for,
Oh my
we
gosh,
went to
we
we went to
did,
some film thing with Jordy.
dude. Oh yeah, Remember, it was the Oscar thing, the Oscar watch party.
That's what it was. Why were we dressed up so nice, dude?
Because it was
We were dressed up like
the AFME watch party, and I think we were nervous. What is that?
yes,
Because we
dude.
didn't know, because it was gonna be all these other people and we didn't know how
Yep.
nice it was gonna be. I literally bought a suit that was probably 1.5 times too big.
Dude, that's hilarious. I can't find this. Oh yeah, there it is.
Oh my gosh, look how little I was. No beard, big gauges. Good for
Big
me, dude. See,
gauges,
this is what I
dude.
need to get back. This is why I'm doing body weights, body weight workouts and running, dude. I need to get back to
Look
that.
at the shoulders, dude.
Oh,
Look at
I've always been
that.
a barrel, dude. That's so
Dude, that's
funny. But
hilarious.
yeah, dude, I remember it was at that Oscar watch party where someone was telling us that we worked with, and they somehow we found out they spent like 14 years in federal prison. And you literally looked at him and you go, dude, you're like a freaking criminal to his face.
I see what?
Yeah, dude, it was so funny. It was
That was
hilarious.
10 years ago to the same week, dude.
So how you were like 18, dude? You were fresh out of high school. You're a fresh adult.
Goodness gracious.
It was so funny, dude. But anyways, that was some good times. Good times. But speaking of the Oscars,
let's get into this movie, dude. Sound of Metal is today's episode. It was my first watch. Josh, I believe this was a rewatch for you. Sound of Metal, streaming on Amazon Prime. The description on Amazon reads, metal drummer Ruben begins to lose his hearing, and when a doctor tells him his condition is worsening, he thinks his career in life is over. His girlfriend Lou checks the former addict into a rehab for the deaf, hoping it will prevent a relapse and help him adapt to his new life. After being welcomed and accepted just as he is, Ruben must choose between his normal life and the life he once knew. Additional info, 97 on Rotten Tomatoes, certified fresh, 90 over 2,500 audience reviews, so 90% from the audience there. Let's see, this looks like a 4.2 on Letterboxd, which to me now, that's the new Rotten Tomatoes.
yeah,
man.
I agree.
So did you see this in theaters? Was that your first watch?
Did you? I just broke a lamp. I did not see it in theaters. I should take a picture of that. I did not see it in theaters.
Did you actually break the lamp?
100%, dude. It
Let's see it, dude. Show the people.
completely separate.
Oh, Lord.
Here's the top half. Oh gosh, I need a bigger desk. This is gonna be bad. Sorry, whoever gave me that lamp. I think it was Brenna. I apologize.
Oh, wow.
Okay. No, I did not see it in theaters, dude. My first time watching this, it released in the end of 2020, and I don't even know if theaters were still. I think they might have still been down during that time, even though it was towards the tail end. But the first time I watched it was in 2021 sometime, and when it was streaming, and I don't know why it took me so long, but
yeah, November 2020 is when it came out, so that makes sense.
But yeah, I haven't watched it since though. This was my second watch, so has it been like 2 or 3 years? But I had no idea about this movie. I think I was probably one of those Oscar things, you know? You watch the Oscars and then you hear of a movie and then you're like, wait, why have never? Because it got nominated for 6, so I was surprised I didn't watch it. But yeah, and it won too. It won for film editing and best sound. But Riz Ahmed, because it's starring quite a few people, but there's not that many. Like it basically centers around Ruben Stone, played by Riz Ahmed, Lou by Olivia Cook, and Joe Paul Raci, or Raichi maybe. And so those are like the more main characters, I would say. I don't know. Do you agree? Because it's pretty much
it just centers around.
There's more. Lauren Ridloff plays a teacher, plays Diane, but.
Yeah, I was drawn to this after. So there was a show. It was I think it was supposed to have a second season, but it never got greenlit, or maybe it was a mini. I don't think it was a miniseries. Anyways, it was called The Night Of. Came out in 2016, and Riz Ahmed is in it with John. Wait, let's see. Michael Kenneth, Bill Camp. How do you say his last name? John Turturro?
John Turturro's in it?
Yeah. I never know how to say his last name. So Riz Ahmed and John Turturro are both the main characters of The Night Of. It is a fantastic drama on Max, HBO. It is so good. Anyways, we watched that a few years ago. I think that was one of the only movies I had seen Riz Ahmed in, or movies. I I'm like, Nightcrawler.
Yep.
So I was scrolling through Amazon Prime one day. Kelly was at the gym, and I was like scrolling through. I wanted something to watch, and I saw his face on the poster for this for Sound of Metal. I was like, oh man, I had seen a trailer for that years ago. I never checked it out. I was like, oh, he's so good in Nightcrawler. I remembered the night of, because Nightcrawler was
Yeah.
fantastic, and I mean it was heartbreaking. This guy's end in Nightcrawler, and Jake Gyllenhaal's obviously a bruiser as
Right.
usual. Anyways, and I just turned it on. I really didn't have a whole lot of context. I knew the basics of the movie, but I mean, let's see. I think it's like 10 minutes in that he starts to lose his hearing. Not even 10 minutes in.
Yeah,
Right?
it's very quick. Like,
It's super quick, and it was weird. The sound, I can't imagine seeing this in a theater, but even just here at home, the sound mixing was done in such a way that, oh my gosh, I like immediately drew. I was into the movie,
yep.
right? I used to drum. I was like, oh cool, here's a drummer. Here's this cool actor from another movie. I understood the premise. That was really it. But then immediately, as he's in his RV, kind of just fidgeting with his ear, trying to like, is something going on? Oh, dude, like my heart started racing. It felt like the way that they mix that audio and the way that it's
Yeah.
whole movie obviously does that, but it just happens so fast,
Yep. Yep.
so abruptly.
Yeah. No, I agree. And we're gonna ruin this movie, by the way. We're gonna talk about all of it, even the ending. But yeah, the way that they did the sound, dude, like the editing and the sound was just so impressive
Mm,
in that it made me frustrated. Like I could feel the frustrations just as like as
oh,
he was discovering when he starts not being able to hear, and then they muffle the audio for us too. And there was parts where they would go in
mm,
and out, where they'd be muffled, and you would also hear muffled, but then you can hear what everyone else is saying, and it would bring me into the frustrations of going into this world of I just lost my hearing, but more importantly, I'm losing the things that I'm most passionate about, and now it's
mm,
dividing me from the people that I love or the things that I love. And I thought that was just such a cool way to bring us into the mindset of the character, even to the point where he goes to so yeah, the first time I heard about this movie, I thought it was exactly what you're like, oh, it's a drummer, he loses his hearing and he's
yep,
gonna lose his passion. That's a good premise. That's a good story enough for me to be like, I'm gonna go watch this. I had no
yep.
idea that this was gonna be even more, that it's more so about him being an addict and them being afraid, or both of them, both Ruben and Lou being recovering addicts, and it was more about that and more about their relationship, the relationship with each other, the relationship with drugs, the relationship with their self, and what, because him losing his hearing and not being able to drum creates this fear that he's going to relapse, he's going to use again, right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that that he goes to oh, that's why I was bringing it up. He goes to a, what is it, a rehab center for hard of hearing
Yeah,
folks, and there's a scene because they do subtitles almost the whole movie, right? But then they
yeah.
strategically not show you subtitles sometimes and I would get frustrated because when you first meet Joe, the leader of or the head person who runs the rehab
Oh, yeah, it
center,
was his sponsor, right?
um
Or was
I
that
think
someone
that his
else?
sponsor was somebody else.
Somebody else?
Yeah. I
Okay,
think his sponsor was from his former, recovery group, because
okay.
Joe, I believe he just met because Joe is
For the
the deaf
hard of
community,
hearing center, yeah.
the hard of hearing center, and so someone comes in and starts talking to Joe, and they're signing to each other, and it's not giving me subtitles, and Ruben is sitting right there, and I had the feelings of frustration or left out or like, what is going on? And it made me like feel the very same, like when I would go to visit my family in Juarez, there was times where I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. Like I know you're moving
Yeah.
and you can gesture, but there is this level of I feel left out and I don't know what's happening kind of thing. And so I just thought that that was just a really cool way of storytelling and showing us, not just telling us, but showing us the frustration and showing us the disconnect. Uh,
You have no choice but to be empathetic and completely feel what he's feeling, or get into his shoes and understand what he's feeling
yeah.
there, because the movie's made that way. And I thought one of the things that, like, speaking of what you said with, what you thought the story was gonna be about and what it ended up being about, is I am grateful because I thought they were going down 2 different paths of, like, I thought he's gonna relapse, and I thought Lou, which is lesser, well, no, not necessarily, it could have led to a relapse. I thought he was gonna relapse, and I thought that Lou was gonna find someone else when she left and went
Ah,
to Paris. And I'm like, these typical tropes, man, like,
right.
someone, not that a drummer losing his hearing is a common story. But the trope of like, oh, she leaves to, they're trying to find themselves or better themselves, and she ends up falling for someone else. He relapses. They didn't follow any of those kind of what you would think would be standard like storylines, and I appreciated that because, and I don't think that's a spoiler to say that he doesn't relapse.
Right.
And we can get into it later about like their beautiful meeting at the end when he finally goes to Paris. But I appreciated that it wasn't like standard tropes of like relapsing.
Right.
It's so him getting involved in that deaf community too at the rehab center. Those scenes of when he's in the classrooms and observing the kids and really learning how to be a part of that community. And here's the other thing too. I thought they were going down a path of he would have a love interest with the woman at the
Oh.
deaf community too. So like all these things where my mind is like, oh, here we go with this kind of typical, and they didn't do
Yep.
any of it, right? And I think that helped the story a lot. But as he's kind of integrated into this community, my favorite scene was when he's learning to sign and he's learning to engage with the kids. And there's that scene where he is laying on the slide. And he's still pretty frustrated at this point, and there's there's a kid at the top, and he kind of drums, and they're hearing the scene after that, or pretty close after that. I think in the rehab center, they're in a circle signing, doing a little signing competition. I teared up the most
Yep.
right then and there. Like we're talking a full movie watch. This is a full movie for me, and I know I'm interjecting that in the middle of our episode, but because there were times where I did laugh. This drove me to tears for some reason because I was like, he didn't seem like he was forcing it. He was truly just enjoying his new community, right? And oh, dude, like there's so many scenes of that, him playing with the kids, him drumming on the slide, like I just mentioned, like so many really beautiful scenes, especially at the end with him and Lou. But this scene for me was like, he's in it. He's found a community, and the audio in that scene too, of where you can hear a little bit of whispers.
Yeah.
They're really signing. You feel like you're in the room with them. You feel like you're. Oh man, that scene got me,
Yeah.
man. I was tearing up heavy at that part. But there's so many things you can point to in this though that may have driven you to tears or caused you to think. Like, but since you watched it twice, you're on your rewatch, anything new that stuck out or anything else
Yeah.
that might have?
Yeah. No, I think you're so right, because that scene too, same. Like Riz is such a good actor that
Oh,
it's so believable where and also I think it's because I've seen this transformation. I think that was something I was thinking about this second watch. I've seen this in people, like especially back in the Young Life days, where you would see people shift, and not always like I'm not saying like, oh, addict to not addict, and not saying like people are bought into the message of what Young Life was preaching, but I think it was just more so this shift in community, or the shift in being of like, and I think that was it felt so real, and Riz was able to do that. Like Riz was able to embody that idea of like, he was very strict. He had a way of living. He was very, this is what I'm doing with my life. And then when he got into this community, and what a community that is so focused on people and on names and on not fixing people, man, that was like, you can see that transformation, like you were saying, like where he's like, again, like he wants to redo that match with that.
oh,
Like
that's
that kid must
awesome.
have been what, 12? Like, and it's just, but he was so
Yeah,
intense, and he's like, I'm gonna win. But in a lot of ways, he was young in the deaf community, right? He's a very
yeah.
young person. So I think even being able to portray the youthfulness of being, yes, he was like 30s, I think, or 20s or something in his age, but he was in infancy in what it means to be a person who's can no longer hear or be hard of hearing. And so that was just cool, because it's the same way when you see people transform, when something starts to stick, right, or track in their minds in these communities and people, and you start to see people just shift and like truly and like what they are. And I loved how they gave him a name. It made me think about how, obviously not on the same level as the movie, but I think it was like episode 1 or 2, you were like, I don't have a nickname, and how you were bummed out. You're like,
Oh,
I
yeah,
never
yeah.
had a nickname. And I think that there's something so powerful about nicknames and names, right? Like how
Yeah.
you had mentioned, like, yeah, not, I'm maybe putting words in your mouth, but it seemed like that aspect of like everyone else has nicknames and I'm not. So you kind of feel
Yeah.
apart, right? And
Yeah.
they give him, what do they call him? Owl, I think that's his like
Yeah.
his deaf community name. And which did this movie had a lot of chuckles in not like funny because it's a hilarious moment, but laughing
Yeah.
because it's such a human moment, right? Where
100%.
he flips off Joe when he tells him about being an owl, and he's like, and that just
Yeah.
made me smile a bit, or just I'm laughing when when you compare the scenes of him first going to the school with the kids and then where he's at later, it made me like laugh out of like this is so wholesome in a very real and human way that it just made me like kind of laugh, like chuckle, like, oh gosh, this is good. And so, but I think one of the biggest things that I was thinking about upon this second rewatch is just how much that with him talking like him being an addict and saying the things that he did, and just feeling like the fixing part, right? This movie was a really big movie for me the first time because of the same thing. I was what is it, 2021? So it was a couple years. A lot of things shifted. I quit Young Life. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to
Mm.
do with job, all this stuff, and and even trying to figure out my faith. And I just remember feeling like kind of stuck and not being able to communicate things. And then I watched this movie where he so desperately wants to hear like how he used to. He lost his hearing, and he so badly is like, I want to go back to that, and he can't. Like
Yeah.
he has to learn a new way of hearing, right? A new way of communicating, a new way of living. And if I may jump to the end and ruin some of this, but he gets that surgery, right? And he gets dude, my heart broke. Like
Oh.
when he's like, "Wait, can you fix that?" And the doctor was like, "We can make some adjustments, but it's just going to take time to get used to." And it sounded like people were talking underwater, and he thought he was going to be able to hear perfectly and exactly how he used to. In a lot of ways, I feel like for me personally, that was like my experience with faith, or what my belief
Mm.
is becoming, where I'm like, there's times where I so badly want to go back to and listen and think and feel the way I used to. But when things happen and things shift, I just can't. And so I'm like, during this time in 2021, it was like me in the process of learning, how do I engage with myself? How do I engage with my faith, with my spirit, with all of these ways of living that has changed for me. And now looking back, a few years later, it is this like more settle of like, I feel more like Riz at the end, like where I stopped, where at the end when he takes off
Oh,
and he
yeah.
just sits there in the silence. That's kind of how I felt, where I'm like, oh, I'm sitting in the silence now, like, and I'm okay with it, especially because like the the addict part, because I struggle with chronic pain and body pain, and for many years I was abusing substances and to escape that pain. But the way he said things really was touching, like, because I was like, I've said those words when he said, "Do you feel like using?" And his response was like, "Today's just not a good day. Today's a bad day." And I remember
Mm.
journaling and telling my friends that, like, "Hey, today's a bad day. Hey, will you pray for me? Because today's a bad day." In the sense that I feel so much pain that I'm not thinking clearly, or today's a bad day in my
Mm.
in the so. Anyways, watching it again was just a lot of reflection of those, because I think the first time I watched it, some of it was like especially with the shift thing. The drug stuff was like that was a long time. It was 2013 is when I stopped. And so the it was just interesting to be in a more settled place and watch this and connect with those dots. Um
'Cause you're more towards Riz at the
because I'm
end.
more that's what it feels like. And I know that's not entirely true, because I do believe in this idea of like we're always becoming something, and we're always like,
Yeah.
um the and I know I see a lot of things through books and movies, and but anyways, I read this book, Parable of Sower, and it's a dystopian futuristic movie, and there's a line in there that says God is change and change is God. And it's such a different view of this idea of God, because for a long time it was God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And so this idea of change and what does that mean? And that's anyway. So I'm starting to like, oh yeah, we're always changing. Like if I'm not changing, if I don't think I'm, a different person, I don't want to be the same person I was 10 years ago. Like I want to keep
Yeah.
progressing as a person and who I am. So anyways, all that to say, yeah, like I think sitting in that, I feels more so that, even though I'm sure maybe in 5 or 10 years, I'm going to be like, no, now I'm sitting in that silence at the end. And 5 years ago, Josh was saying that dumb shit on the podcast and he didn't know what he was talking about, kind of thing. But
that's the thing. I think that's a beautiful way to look at it, because while yes, he had that peace at the end, at some point we don't see it. He has to get up and live.
yeah,
He has to figure out life. So like he did have a moment of like, all right, this is who I am. But then there's the whole navigating that we don't see. And so that's part of the life. Like change will happen. So yes, he has that moment of peace and clarity, and you're moving forward through that and with that comfort, or at least that understanding of this is who I am now, or how I think now, or how I have to live now. We don't see the rest of the change. And so you're like you said, 5 years from now, you might be like, oh, I had another moment of that because I changed again.
right.
And that's super cool. And I think that that's why I like movies so much, is because, and especially good performances that can really cause you to reflect on your own life. I mean, there's just nothing like, and like you said, and obviously these are times in your life that maybe didn't feel the best when you were in it, but now that you can reflect on it, like you've said things similar to what he said. And I think that moment where like you said, when he's with the doctor, like, wait, hold on, I think you did it wrong, right? Like change it
Yeah.
back. There's that, regardless of what it is, I think most people have felt that maybe it was something medical or a tragedy where like, wait a minute, I think you're telling me the wrong thing. Like you're in denial almost, because he knew, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe I don't.
Right.
There's something on his face as I'm watching that scene that's like he had the realization like this isn't what I thought it was going to be. Like, oh shit, there's no way. And he's trying to talk his way through it and out of it with the doctor, but he knows
Yeah.
that it's not, his hearing's never coming back. And that was so painful to watch.
Right.
I like that. That messed me up, man. Like seeing that. And again, regardless of a situation, I think a lot of people have felt that, where you're almost in denial of a tragic reality.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is so Joe is trying to tell him like, hey, you accept this as, you're losing your hearing is part of who you are now. And what does he say? At our community, we don't believe it's a
Yeah.
disability. And I think the nice thing is, like, while Joe was trying to encourage him in that and be pretty firm with him in that, and in a situation, rightfully so, the movie never felt like to me it was criminalizing Ruben for wanting to go back, because there's no reason to do that. And Joe was doing it out of a place of love and like, hey, look at our community, we love you, we don't see it as a disability, we can get through this life together. Life is rough.
Right.
Um, they could have gone down a path of criminalizing him for wanting to go back, and I don't think they did. I think that they showed it in a very natural human way of like, I want things back how they were. And that scene, and the scene too where, so when he gets the cochlear implants and it goes back to Paris, or it goes to Paris to see Lou, and is trying to vibe at the party and get through conversations. Oh boy, that was tough to watch. Like he because he couldn't understand anything anybody was saying or who was talking to him and when. And you could see it start to settle,
Yeah.
right, at that party when he's having a cigarette at it's just starting to settle in. But there's something about a movie or a performance like that that pulls you in to feel. And for me, watching that denial in his eyes and it like the twitches in his hands when he's getting delivered this tragic
Right.
news that it didn't do what he wanted it to do. Oh, that's so good.
Just deflating.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. But like you said too, you had two different feelings watching it the first time, watching it the second time. If you watched it again in a few years, something different. And that to me is a testament to a good movie. It's such a great movie and a performance, because you can get so much more out of it than just an initial watch. But oh
Right.
man, that just so many different scenes that are popping into my mind that just, like, at the end, I'm not sure if it's after the party or beginning when he's with Lou. He's trying to convince her to get the band back together. I think it's after the party.
Yeah.
And he's like, let's go back on tour. And like the speed at which he was talking and like the anxiety that felt like it was on display, he knew it wouldn't happen, but somehow there was again denial of like, and when she started to scratch her
Yeah.
arm and he's like, hey, it's all good. Like that was, oh man, another tough scene, but just like seeing him longing for it,
Right.
but just like he knew,
Right.
right? Maybe he didn't, but I was on screen watching it. I was like, he knows, but doesn't want to accept it, doesn't want to believe it, and I feel like that's, oh man, brutal.
Dude, that broke me, dude. That ending where, because when he was so in love, but they were almost addicted to each other in that way of harm. And I think that maybe
Yeah,
that was the parallel they were trying to show, because that
yeah,
hurt me when he first sees Lou in Paris and looks at her arm and says, "Oh, you haven't been scratching. You look so healthy. You look so
Mm,
good." Like even her physical transformation, right? Her hair is a different color. Her eyebrows are a different color. The way she's carrying herself looks different. And then he's there for whatever that day and a half, and then she starts scratching instantly. That hurts
yeah.
because he drew those connections where he's like, "Oh, I'm the reason you're self-harming," or like, "I'm the reason you're scratching yourself
Mm,
and anxious," and that hurt because I think they both truly like, loved each other. But it
yeah.
was just such a one of those things where it's like some things you can't go back. And that seems painful, right? Like if you've ever had a friendship or relationship where you're like, we got to go different ways for the best, even though you don't want to.
Mm.
Even though you don't want to, that just sounds brutal, dude. Brutal. So,
Have you experienced that with like friendship or relationship?
um, yeah, probably. I mean, I'm thinking, especially, I think having such a wide, Albuquerque's community, right? I just think Albuquerque,
Mm,
all they have is community. And a lot food too. I think we have good food in Albuquerque where, and how do I explain that a little bit better actually? Because I know there's a lot going on in Albuquerque. There really is. There's some good things. And I what I mean by there's not a lot, I mean like there's no professional sports, there's no big old theme
mm,
parks, there's no, we have Uncle Cliffs or Cliffs, right? But you don't have any big things to distract yourself from, I guess, like you would, because I grew up in,
yeah,
from 2nd grade to 7th grade, I was in Orange County, and there was always something. There's the beach, there's Disney,
yeah.
there's professional sports of every sport, right? And so there's a lot you could do and go to. And in Albuquerque, you kind of make your own fun, and you make your own community, and you hang out a lot. And this is why I love, and I'm sure there's a lot of places, but obviously I'm biased, but like my experience is Albuquerque. Of like I love Albuquerque and New Mexican people because you can literally sit around in a backyard with no music and have the best time for 3 hours just chatting and
Mm,
doing stuff, right? You don't need like and I love that. Like you can gather and you don't, whether there's booze or not, whether there's board games or not, or you're watching a movie or not, you can entertain and have a good time just being with each other's company. And I think that might be a thing about Albuquerque. In the same way though, because there's such a like a big community thing, staying connected, especially shifting, I was in Young Life spaces, I was in these church spaces, I was in um to work, even just working at, from I'm thinking about all the different weird jobs that I've done, from Dion's and Peter Piper, like
yeah.
you end up getting these deep connections, even if it is just Dion's, right? Like, because it's not just Dion's. These are the people you see on a weekly basis. But then as you move and stuff, you do kind of have to like disconnect from different friend groups, right? And high school
Mm,
to college. And so there's definitely, I think there has been relationships, that yeah, it's like, oh, we can no longer do this. Even though how much we want to, I'm gonna have to go separate way. I mean, even moving to Colorado in a lot of ways, I'm sure has impacted a lot of my relationships and friendships back in Albuquerque, right? Because proximity, and it's no hard feelings, it's no difference, which is funny because I feel like you and I reconnected more so. I mean, we've always been
yeah,
friends, but like, now I
yeah.
see you all the time.
And it's like and it doesn't always have to be the end of it. It's just shifting how the friendship operates, which is just as
Right,
hard, right? Like if you see like you said, proximity. If you see each other all the time, or you're used to like a cadence with this person or this group of people, even if it shifts drastically and doesn't
right,
end, it's still difficult, right? So I think, yeah, and that's all change though, right?
right.
And any kind of change, and it's difficult to come to terms with it. Some people are better with change, some people aren't. I don't even know what that means to be good with
Right.
change. You know what I mean? Because people handle it so everybody's so unique in how they handle things. Like, at work, I really do feel like I'm the same person at work,
Okay.
like, personality-wise and how I treat people, and obviously, I have to dress professionally sometimes, sometimes not, and I can read the room. But at work, I really, really love change.
Okay.
Like, I love when things are fast-paced and moving and you don't know what's next, and today looks different than tomorrow, and this afternoon and the morning were very different. That's super sweet with
Yeah.
me. And in some aspects of my personal life, I love that too, but there's other aspects where I really like grounded consistency with things, but I think that also comes from, like, Kelly, where I have that consistency with her, so change I can adapt a little easier because of that, because I have so it's just weird. So I don't know what that means. I
Right.
don't know what it means to be good with change. But for everybody, it looks different. Do you feel like you would be you're good with change? Do you embrace it? Do you like
It's really hard.
how would you describe your you know what I mean? I don't know how to like how would you describe your relationship when things change?
Oh, it's scary, dude. It's scary. I think a part of it's because it's so unknown, and sometimes I think what's familiar is a lot easier to just
Mm,
stay with. It took me forever, dude. Like I remember as soon as I quit in 2019, I quit Young Life and I was like, I'm moving. I'm going somewhere. I want to go. But dude, it took me
mm,
like 4 years. Three years to do it. And I think a bit of that is because of change. You just you get comfortable with
yeah.
like, oh, I live here, I know these people, I want to try. And it's nothing against them. It's and there's a part of me that was as far as the city of Albuquerque. It's like this is my home. I
Yeah.
love this city, but I don't want to stay here so long that I become bitter towards it. And I'm still like, it's still a good place. Like, and that's the thing. It's a good place for what you want, and that's okay. Like, it's okay for me to feel that way because I'm not trying to speak poorly of people who are living in Albuquerque because, like, again, that's my home. But my personal experience is that I think I was just so a part of that entire city that like it was really hard, like
You were growing bitter to it.
yeah, well, because the a lot of the Young Life stuff, and because I was on staff, it didn't end very well
Yeah, yeah,
for my soul,
exactly.
for my mental health, for my like, and so there's a difference of like, oh, I need to, I don't want to be too like cliche and be like, I need to go heal, but like there was a part of me it's like I need to do something different, but it was terrifying. So I don't think change is really hard for me. Change is very very hard. I
Mm,
don't know if you've seen Banshees of Inisherin. But
mm,
the premise is two lifelong friends are the one wakes up one day and says, I don't want to be friends anymore. And there's no reason. He goes, you didn't do anything, you didn't say anything, we're done. And I was like, that sounds like my worst nightmare. And I think change is a big part of that, right? Where it's like, what if I woke up one day in the city or my best friends or Albuquerque or whoever it is, or just like, Josh, there's nothing you did. I'm just done. That is a
mm.
that change would be really hard, I think, for me. And so, but I'm getting better, I think, of change. It's just, yeah, my relationship with change. Yeah, I think it's a difficult thing because, dude, naturally change it has ripple effects, right?
Yep.
So I think that's tough, but
I think the ripple effects for me is like if changing jobs or just like different I like that, but I also try not to think about the ripple effects because if I do like the big thing for us right now, like any major change we make impacts the kids,
gotcha.
right? And so like that's on the forefront of our mind with them and like changing schools. But we realized too when we switched schools for Paxton this last year, kids are so resilient and
Yeah,
they are not in the same place mentally that we are, and I think a lot of times maybe parents think that way, like, "Oh, change for the kids, this, changing sports, changing schools, changing this, changing that." They're so adaptable. This is their first time through life,
yeah,
right? And
right,
so they are so especially our kids are so young, right? Like, Paxton's 7, and so for him, it's all brand new. Everything is change for him,
right.
really, truly, right? So it's like, oh, switching schools. He went to that school for 2 years.
Yeah,
It's not like junior year, you're pulling him out and moving here, or like you did 10 years of this job and you're moving out. It's all change for them. And so I think that might be one of the reasons kids are so resilient in that is everything about their life is so new. Everything is technically changed to them. They're not stuck in ways as like we are as we get older. So we've learned a lot from them and like the way Paxton adapts and makes new friends and classes and Ellie too, just like watching her go through life and different things. So I know I like I said, I like when there is change, but I also really do enjoy a solid foundation to come back to, I
yeah,
guess. Who knows, man? I don't
right,
know. Changing jobs and moving cities and changing school, they're all different.
yeah,
For different people, you react to each of them differently because each of them have different ripple effects, right? Like you moving cities after I'll say a traumatic experience here through the Young Life staff is very different than like if you moved in Denver,
yeah.
right? You shifted your state where you live. Now both are change, but it's just I don't know. I love it though. I love the discussion, and then I will always try to think of what did Robin? It's like Robin Williams in Night at the Museum, where he's like, who is he talking to? Someone's like telling him like, I don't know what I'm gonna do tomorrow, and Robin Williams is like, ooh, how
Oh,
exciting!
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, some dumb cheesy thing, but anything with Robin Williams always gets
Right.
me.
I mean, honestly, dude, that's why I try to embrace that whole it's all journalism thing because it helps me it helps me deal, I think, with change or fear of what's to come, right? Because it's
Yeah,
like I'm terrified. I don't If I let fear, I would not do that 12-hour run or whatever, that relay 5-person to it.
for sure.
But if I tell myself, oh, it's all journalism, like this is how exciting I get to, have this story now. That helps me, I guess, cope with doing scary things. You can do the house is I think I've mentioned this. The house is always saying you can do hard things to their kids every day before they leave to school. It's like, hey, so and so, you can do hard things, right? And then they repeat, I can do hard things. And it's funny because now I'm saying it to myself, like, Josh, you can do hard things, and it's real. Like I'm like, and a part of me is like, okay, cool. It's all journalism. It's gonna come out with a story. It's gonna do good. But
I think too, like in this movie, the change was not anything that he didn't make the choice. Like this is what happened to him. Like these are the cards he was dealt biologically.
yeah,
Like this is, you know what I mean? And we're talking about decisions we make, and I think it makes it a little more. Dude, so we've talked about Bluey before and
yep,
Kelly in the newsletter. This new episode, family was going to get up and move, and throughout the whole episode, it's talking about the kids not wanting to move, and one of the daughters asked the mom. I know we're talking about a dog cartoon kid show right now, but asks the mom and says, "How do you know it's going to be better for us?" And she's like, "I don't know. We'll see." Like, and that's the whole premise of the episode was like, "We'll see.
right,
We don't know. Like, it might not." And I love that. Like, I think Jordy told me that a few years ago when I was going to change jobs once. He's like, "Dude, like, it's gonna work out. It's gonna work out. If not, like, it's all good. You can." And it's hard. It's so much harder to practice
right,
that than to say it.
right,
But yeah, after watching that Blue episode, man, and just like over the years when things have happened, like making this shift of jobs and from Santa Fe to Albuquerque, these different things, like they're very drastically different jobs. But I cannot fathom not working where I'm working now and working there still because of like my ability to do this and like all this stuff, right? Like, who knows? We'll see.
right.
Like again, this movie, major life change biologically. Us, we're talking about decisions and choices we make, and we'll see.
Yeah,
They work out. They don't.
right.
They're better for us. They're not. You strain your calf on this 12-hour run. It's a fun story to
I'll
tell.
figure it
Like
out.
exactly, dude. And it's harder to practice that,
It
but
is. It
lots
is.
of fun.
My version of that is shout out Noah Monagle. He's always saying odds on both. Like, hey, Josh, it might, you move to Denver, you move to wherever, it might work out, it might not. Odds on both, but go find out. And I think
Yeah.
that is a helpful mentality, right?
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you because of the whole drumming thing, right? Was there anything for you
Mm.
as a drummer who I don't know if you still drum? If I remember, I don't think you drum as much, but I'm just wondering how that has changed both because it's kind of a two-part question. What you just asked me about friendships and relationships, has anything been felt like that way where you're like, oh, I'm scratching now, I need to leave this relationship and friendship or change in that way? And then I was thinking, oh, is that a part of not just people, but your relationship with things like drumming or skateboarding, and you're like,
Mm.
oh, I need to move on. Like you as a drummer watching this, how did that impact your watch and all that?
Drumming, I jumped for years and years, like probably over 15 years consistently. And I hadn't drummed in the last few years. I love watching drummers in movies, though, just like a little sidebar to see if they're actually on beat. Cause there have been so many movies where like they're hitting the snare and like the crash cymbal in the movie, and what you're hearing is not that at
Right.
all. And that frustrates me so much. Anyways, this movie didn't do that. Like Whiplash obviously didn't do that. But because we did Whiplash as an episode. Anyways, not with drumming. No, no, I never felt that way there. But I think it's so weird. Like I haven't skateboarded aside from like with the kids around the block in so many years because I think that's the one thing in my life that I was truly obsessive over, and like mentally it wasn't super good. Like physically not great for my body, but like mentally probably wasn't super good for me because it consumed so much of my time and my thoughts when I was in it and trying to. And I haven't done that in many years, but it was not the way I was with drumming. And actively right now, I don't think there's anything that I have, at least I don't think so, that feels that way. But that is weird. It's a weird shift when you like go through stages of life, like what thing, like you said, relationship, but also things or hobbies or activities might hit the back burner or you might stop altogether. Like, do you have anything like that?
Um, I mean, it was really tough to stop doing as many physical stuff because of my body, right?
Mm.
I think similarly in that's what I was thinking about, at least with this. He's drumming, and loud noises obviously are going to damage his ears even worse, and he probably shouldn't be drumming, continuing. And I think I
Yeah.
thought about that of like, I was a wild person in high school in terms of like physical humor, jumping in and out of moving cars, jumping in bed of trucks, jumping over fences, like I used to do these tuck and rolls. I was just trying to jump and like do like you dive and roll and like pop up like you're, I don't know, some special forces person or something. And I would do that shit over all kinds of things, even though my body was messed up. Or go snowboarding and just bomb hills, and it just wasn't healthy for my body. And I remember being so afraid of, I'm never going to be able to do anything physical for the rest of my life. And
Mm.
there was a part of me that's like, I need to live it up as much as I can right now. But then that just, getting more and more pain. Cause I wasn't, abusing substances because I was like, I want to get high. It was because I was like, I just want to feel normal. Like I want to feel
Yeah.
I don't want to feel pain all the time. And I realized that the more I push my body into pain and they're harmless, quote unquote, harmless hobbies, right? Like snowboarding. People snowboard all
Yeah.
the time. I can't do that anymore. And I think now I'm totally content, dude. I'm like, I don't need a snowboard. I don't need to jump out of a truck. Like that's the stupidest
Yeah.
thing. So, but at the time, that's what I'm thinking about, right? I still don't know if I want to have kids, but at the time, in my late teens, early 20s, I was like, I want to be physical enough to do stuff with my kids if that ever came, right? Like I want to
Yeah.
play sports, but I think me thinking about all that stuff was, yeah, it was hard, dude. It was hard to, so I had to stop. I had to stop doing some of that shit so I can, yeah, not further hurt my body. Like, that's how I tore my ACL. That in high school, it was 2009. I was playing tackle football, which I shouldn't be doing, but I didn't even get tackled. I was running straight. I was just running in a field, and everyone said it was like a flat tire. Like I just fell on my own. And it turns out
Oh,
I tore
wow.
my ACL, fractured my kneecap, tore my meniscus. Like and they were saying it's because it was pretty much a time bomb, that your ACL was so tight because of your back, and then because your back was so messed up, your legs got really tight, and because your legs got really tight, they were just waiting to explode, and that's what happened to your knee. That it got so tight, it just exploded. And so I think
Wow.
that's what put in the realization of like, yeah, you just can't stress your body in these ways. And so now I'm like, yeah, I don't need to go play tackle football. I don't need to do crazy physical activities anymore. But it was tough for a bit, like because I was 17,
Yeah, that's hard. That's the age where you're invincible, right?
in college, all your friends, you have more free time, right? Like someone told me that once. They're like, you have the most amount of free time in college you'll ever have. And I was like, you're such a liar. Like, I don't feel like I have any. I'm
Yep.
doing finals and homework and all this stuff. But also, dude, I was waking up last minute to do a road trip to watch the Lobos go play in Salt Lake City on a whim, just because they were
Yep.
like seeded 6 or 3 or something in this March Madness. So I'm like, I can't. Maybe I can maybe do that somewhat now, but for the most part, we can't do that shit, right? We can't just get up and be like you have a whole family, you have a job, and like, I got some of that, but I think that was tough, because let's
Yeah.
just play hooky and go snowboarding, and that was a big thing in college. All my friends were snowboarding. That's why I keep bringing it up. But anyways,
Yeah.
but yeah, dude, what an episode! What a movie!
What a movie. 100% full movie. I think you're right clarifying that, right? Like the tears. I mean, the laughter was not necessarily punchline jokes, rather human moments, human interactions, and Ruben intentionally or unintentionally hilarious in his navigation of like his new
Yeah,
life, you know,
yeah,
and his interaction with the kids. And yeah, 100% a full movie. I mean, this is like the definition of a full movie. Drove me to tears of joy, tears of sadness at the end. Oh man, I cannot stop thinking about like there's just imprinted in my mind, the scene where he's having the competition. I'm laughing and tears like welling up, where he's trying to correct the implants for the first time, and then at the end when he's anxiously trying to get the band back together with Lou. But yeah, 100% a full movie. Talking like as soon as Kelly got home that night, like she went to the grocery store after the gym, and I was like, I don't know if I was towards the end of the movie or midway through the movie. I was like, sit down, Get seated right now. Hold on.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, Riz Ahmed's amazing. Check out The Night Of if you haven't. But how about you? Full watch?
Oh, absolutely, dude. I
Yep.
was so immersed in
This
this
is it.
movie. I wanted to learn sign language. I remember I wanted to learn sign language the first
Oh.
time. And I did learn like, hi, how are you? I've since forgot, but because I always thought it would be fun. Maybe that's putting it too lightly, but I thought it'd be an incredible experience if I ever ran into a deaf person or person who's hard of hearing, a person who is deaf, that I would be able to say, hey, how are you? And engage in a conversation. And I don't have any, family members who are hard of hearing. There's almost no reason for me to know sign language other than the off chance I run into someone who is hard of hearing. So I just thought that was a really special thing, which it did happen. I ended up smoking a cigarette and drinking wine outside of a wedding with someone who was deaf, and it was such a fun time. But anyways, that's a story for another time. But yeah, it brought me so much into this movie. It pulled me in. I definitely cried teared up at multiple times, and it made me laugh at like just how wholesome and human. And I think the way you said that, just the Riz or Ruben Riz's character navigating, just brought you on this roller coaster, ups, downs, heartbreak. The movie did such a good job of build up to lead you into total defeat, but then just to end with such a liberating moment of just, I was like, I feel that. And Joe, the speech, the monologue he did about the writing and the stillness, and in that stillness, that is the kingdom of God. Like that whole thing, dude. Because even Riz saying at the beginning is, I'm not religious, and then in that moment, him hearing that language being more religious language, you can see that it just like, regardless of religion, it was just so, he delivered that. It hurt and felt so good. And that stillness, dude, I have literally thought about that. I'm seeking that stillness. But anyways, full movie for me, absolutely.
I found your key, that stillness in the presence of the
Lord. Dude, I miss Dr. Pepper so much, dude. I haven't drinking a Dr. Pepper in so long. Oh, that's funny, dude.
baby.
I want to close on this note, dude, because I know we're wrapping up here, and it's going to open a can of worms that we can talk about for sure later. But I looked up Darius Martyr's the writer director, and he wrote it with Abraham Martyr and Derek Cianfrance. And I was looking up what they've done, and they have done barely anything else. But Darius Martyr, the one thing he has done in 2012 was he wrote the screenplay for A Place Beyond the Pines. Later, Eric signed off.
I literally knew. As soon you had this little smirk, this little twinkle in your evil eye.
Oh, but we're out of time, dude. We can't talk.
No.
Oh, we got to do a whole episode. On Place Beyond the Pines.
Our next episode is A Place Beyond the Pines. I don't care if Kelly wants to come on and talk about something else. She can jump on and talk about A Place Beyond the Pines. I don't care if...
I don't even know if it's streaming. Dude, I think actually I'll like it.
You ruined my day, dude. You ruined my whole day.
I'm so sorry. But I thought that was a fun fact. I'm surprised you didn't know.
It is not streaming anywhere.
Oh man, we'll get there, dude. We'll watch it one day.
Keep an eye out. All right, dude. Thanks everyone for listening. Subscribe to our channel, newsletter, 3 Milks Media Patreon. Send us money. Put food in our mouths. Food. Feed us.
Perfect.
Thanks, y'all.